how the universe is way bigger than you think by real life lore. In fact, the universe might be infinite, in fact, because it's like expanding really fast and infinitely. And the longer it does that, the further things get apart. The further things get apart, eventually we'll not see anything anymore, and we cannot escape our own galaxy. Anyways, we'll jump in. But yeah, we'll see.
This is Earth. You live here on this planet.
I can tell. You don't need to tell that me. Also, it's... Why is it not flat? The Earth is flat. This is a joke. The Earth is not flat. But I might get a disclaimer now.
Somewhere, and everything that you've ever known is located right here. But just how small exactly is Earth when compared to the scale of the entire universe? Let's start by zooming out to where we can see our nearest cosmic neighbor, the Moon. You may think that the Moon is very close to Earth since it dominates our night skies, but in reality the Moon isn't this close to our planet, it's actually about this far away. 384,400 kilometers.
Wow. Yeah, that is quite far away. And we still got there. The Earth is flat for people with flat brain. True.
Kilometers away from you right now on average. You could fit 30 entire Earths in between this distance, and if you...
Yeah, but you need to be a little bit more careful because, well, otherwise you'd have the Moon on Earth then, eventually. Once we colonize Mars, there will be flat Martians.
you somehow were able to drive a car at a constant 100 kilometers per hour speed, it would take you about 160 days to drive the entire distance. Despite this incredible distance, however, 12 humans have actually set foot here, representing the furthest away that any individual human has ever been away from the Earth, and one of humanity's greatest achievements. This is what the Earth would look like from there if you were standing there with them, and if you wanted to communicate with somebody back at home, it would take a message about 2.5 seconds to travel between you and them.
That seems fine, I guess. That's not too bad. That's not too bad. There's billions of habitable exoplanets that we can live someday. Yeah, but we are limited by time because, well, the sun. Unless we could make it so that we would be artificially able to create atmospheres and 30 Earths. Damn, what kind of math question is this? It's like it depends. The thing is that you would need to be able to artificially create atmospheres because eventually those planets become inhabitable because, well, no sun. It's far billions of years in the future, but regardless.
Since that's how fast the speed of light can travel at. This is a photo that was taken on Mars, and that tiny dot that you see there is Earth as seen from the Martian surface. On average, Mars is an incredible 225 million kilometers away from Earth, but that distance can be as high as 401 million kilometers. That means that whenever humanity finally gets around to landing a human on the planet, that person will be 986 times further away from Earth than the astronauts who landed on the Moon were. In addition, the time delay for sending a message from Mars back to Earth isn't just 2.5 seconds, it's actually more like 20 minutes each direction, which would render...
He left me on red! Bro, getting left on red would be diabolical.
Instant communication in the event of an emergency impossible. When we zoom out even further away, we can find the Voyager 1 space probe, which is the furthest away man-made object from Earth. It is currently located 138 AUs from the Earth. AU meaning astronomical unit, which is the distance between the Earth and the Sun, which means that Voyager 1 is 138 times further away from us than the Sun is. At some point on its long voyage, Voyager 1 turned its camera around and took this photograph. It may not look like much at first, but in my opinion, this is the greatest single photograph.
So this right here is Earth. I'm assuming. This, let me zoom out. This little dot is Earth. Right there. I'm assuming.
Ever taken in all of human history. This tiny, pale blue dot is Earth, and I don't think that anybody has ever said something as amazing about this as Carl Sagan when he said, "If you look at it, you see a dot. That's here. That's home. That's us. On it, everyone you ever heard of, every human being who ever lived out their lives. The aggregate of all our joys and sufferings. thousands of confident religions, ideologies, and economic doctrines. Every hunter
Get the fucking year out of here! So basically, as far as I am on average from a woman at all times, yeah, at that point, you just become the woman. At this point, you're just cooked.
and every forager, every hero and coward, every creator and destroyer of civilizations, every king and every peasant,
Germany mentioned.
every young couple in love, every hopeful child, every mother and every father, every inventor and explorer, every teacher of morals, every corrupt politician, every superstar, every supreme leader,
Supreme leader! Hey, you show Kim Jong-un! You couldn't have not just shown anybody else? Like...
every saint and sinner in the history of our species lived there, on a mote of dust suspended in a sunbeam. Voyager 1 is currently traveling at 17 kilometers every single second, but even at that speed, it won't break out of the reach of our solar system for another 30,000 years. Once we go beyond the solar system, we arrive in our interstellar neighborhood. Here we shift to the light year unit of measurement.
And the thing is, Voyager might not even get that far. Because, apparently, our sun system is, apparently surrounded by something enormously hot. Like an enormously hot barrier. So it might happen that Voyager would reach that in 30,000 years and just evaporate. Which is really interesting, because apparently that is the case. The outer circle of our solar system is very hot. That was a choice. That was a choice.
Which is the distance that light travels in a full Earth year, or about 9.461 trillion kilometers. The star Proxima Centauri here is the closest other star to us other than our sun, but it's still 4.24 light years away from us. To put that into perspective, if it was heading in the right direction, it would still take Voyager 1 over 70,000 years to reach it. In other words, if you drove your car at 100 kilometers an hour like in our previous example to the moon, it would take over 6 times longer than the entire age of the universe is just to finally get there, and it wouldn't even exist still when you arrived. When we zoom out even further, we can see the entire Milky Way galaxy, inside of which Earth is located right here. This yellow dot is the furthest extent of humanity's radio broadcasts throughout history, which means that any possible aliens who live outside of this range are totally unaware of humanity's presence. It's complete silence.
Well, that doesn't technically really surprise anybody. To be fair, would you want to know that you are there? Because imagine this. If aliens found out you were there, presumably, there's a chance they would be more powerful than us. If they can space travel, they would be more powerful than us. Would you really want to be that? You'd be like cattle to them. Like you might be food to them. What then?
Outside of this yellow dot as far as we are currently aware, but the entire galaxy spans over 100,000 light years from end to end. There are over 100 billion stars and over 100 billion planets inside of our galaxy. But you have never seen the full glory of the galaxy at night, because 99% of the stars that you can see with the naked eye are limited to this small, tiny region right here. But even this massive galaxy is nothing compared to the rest of what's out there. Zooming out even further and we arrive at the local group of galaxies.
The local group. See, the thing is also, we already do see less of the universe due to the fact of light pollution. We don't see much of the universe because, frankly, our planet's too bright. So most shit we don't even see.
Collection of 54 different galaxies that is about 10 million light years across. But zooming out even further and we can see the Virgo supercluster, of which the local group here is just a tiny segment of. There are at least 100 other groups of galaxies just like our.
Each dot is one galaxy. There's a lot of galaxies right there. That's many galaxies.
Our own local group inside of here, and the distance from one side to the other is a mind-numbing 110 million light years. But even the massive Virgo supercluster is nothing but a quiet and tiny lobe of the Great Laniakea supercluster, an enormous structure that is home to our galaxy as well as 100,000 other galaxies. The distance from one side to the other is 520 million light years, but from even there we can zoom out all the way to the entire observable universe and see that even the titanic Laniakea supercluster is just a tiny and insignificant part of everything. This is the observable universe.
That is what we can see at most. But there's plenty of stuff that we simply cannot see.
And it contains everything that we know of. It is home to at least 2 trillion different and individual galaxies, which together contain more stars than there are grains of sand on the entire Earth. The distance from Earth to any side of the observable universe is 46.5 billion light years, which means that the entire width is 93 billion light years across. What's perhaps even more interesting, however, is what actually lies beyond the observable universe. Keep in mind that the observable universe is all that we can currently see.
I wonder, let's see you reach the end of the universe, okay? Like, would you just, like, hit a wall? Or does it go further, even further beyond? Who knows? We'll never know. Unless, the person that is already... Unless the medical capabilities of becoming immortal are already available.
And it's entirely possible that the rest of the universe outside of it is vastly larger and more fantastic than we can possibly ever imagine. We simply don't know what else is out there because the light from these incredibly distant places has not yet had enough time in the universe's history to reach us yet back on Earth. And the light from some places...
Well, you probably will potentially never know because, well, we're drifting further and further apart by the milliseconds, so you'll probably never see them.
This may never reach us at all. Because some parts of space very far away from Earth are expanding away from us faster than the speed of light, that means that the light from these places will never, in an infinite amount of time, reach Earth. Meaning that even if humanity is eternal and exists forever, there will still be an unknown number of places in the universe that we will never know about or ever see. So, it is very likely that as unbelievably enormous as...
Well, technically, eventually everything falls apart, right? There will eventually be no point where light is a thing, right? That will eventually happen, right? Because at first all the suns collapse, eventually... The black holes might, depending on technology, we might be able to utilize black holes, but that won't be for long either. And then eventually it'd just be complete darkness, theoretically. Unless we have a great crunch, which means that everything starts to accelerate backwards and we, like, shrink together again. It depends.
It seems, the observable universe is just a tiny slice of what we can currently see of the entire universe. According to the theory of cosmic inflation that was proposed by Dr. Alan Guth, if it is assumed that cosmic inflation began at 10 to the negative 37th of a second after the Big Bang, and with the assumption that the size of the universe before inflation began was equal to its age times the speed of light, then this would seem to suggest that at the present day, the entire universe is 150 sextillion times larger than the observable universe. That number for reference looks like this, with this many...
That's a lot of zeros, boys. That's a lot of zeros. Hi, Angelo. How you doing? Hope you're doing good. That's a lot of zeros.
Zeros. Let this number sink in for just a moment. This would be similar to you thinking that the entire observable universe, everything that you could see, was the size of a light bulb, but then realizing that in reality the entire universe is larger than the former planet of Pluto. Imagine a light bulb in the center of Pluto, but
Sorry, but justice for Pluto. I don't care. Justice for Pluto. We need it. Justice for Pluto.
We inside the light bulb were totally unaware that Pluto existed outside of it, and that's a similar situation to this. We are all so unbelievably small, but you shouldn't worry, because all that means is that there is so much left out there for us to discover together.
Well, we might be small, But consider this. We don't know if we are... See, it might not matter, but... Because we're so small. But what if we're the only living species out there? The only intelligent living species out there? Then everything matters. So the thing is, what I believe is how the universe is gonna end. It's just a cycle that restarts over and over. That's what I believe. And I don't think it'll end up with nothing. I could see, in fact, what if black holes don't even destroy matter? They save it. Who knows? I don't know. I'm theory crafting. Anyways, that was interesting. But yeah, most of these things I did, in fact, already know. But very interesting. There's no way we're the only ones in this universe. You never know. You never know. That's the thing. Because you need very much luck and a lot of time. Who knows? Who knows if we're the only one? Or is it trillions of other species out there? Well, currently, unless we find one, we don't know. So all the responsibility of life is, in fact, unless we know, on us. Not sure which would be worse if we are completely alone, just haven't been found yet. Two versions are equally terrifying. One is that we're gonna get have intergalactic wars, which is kind of cool, not gonna lie. That is kind of cool. The other one is we have all the responsibility for life, and we can see how that turns out because we're stupid. So both versions might be very terrifying. Universe ends with nothing left and another big bang happens again. Cycling universe, it could be. I mean, the idea of like there is the idea proposed that it's gonna expand until a certain way, until a certain time, and just that it pulls back together. Who knows? That could be the reason, right? The matter wouldn't just be gone then, right? It would just be condensed again, and then we'd have another big bang. Or of course, right? Everything has a purpose in some way, shape, or form. So who knows what black holes are even in fact for? I'd like to imagine they're like the collector of matter, the collectors of matter, and they're just like saving everything up. Who knows? Anyways, like, comment, and subscribe.